Coming up on Food is Love.
Alaska, it's called the last frontier. So much of it is still wild. You're right up there against nature. I've come to a place where the salmon run is the best in the world. Naknek is remote to say the least.
We're not connected to the highway systems.
There's no roads, there's no infrastructure out here. Everything is flown in.
In 2019, I came to get a first-hand look at where my fish came from. Now I'm back in Alaska to spend a few days with friend and adventurer Captain Tony Wood, owner of Wild Alaska Salmon and Seafood. This time, the captain has promised me a real Alaskan adventure.
We are 300 miles from a road.
I don't like this. And from what I know about Tony,
what the hell did I get myself into?
I believe him. As a chef, I need to stay curious in order to evolve. For me, that means looking beyond a good meal to learn more about who made it and what inspires them to cook. Every great city has great food. I'm going on a journey around the world. I'm on a quest to find passionate chefs who cooks from the heart, to prove that food is love.
Gotta be delicious.
Food is love. Love your food. Naknek, Alaska, located in Bristol Bay, is home to one of the best salmon fisheries in the world. The fishing season up here in Naknek, Alaska is coming to an end. People are leaving, so we're kind of exploring and seeing behind-the-scenes stuff. Tony's going to show us the fun side of Naknek.
There's about 500 people live in Naknek King Salmon in South Naknek, and then it booms to 17,000 in the summer.
So tell me about people that come in here. Is this like a motley crew?
Most transient place that you've ever been in your life. You have people from all over the world that come into here. There is no consistency on where people are from. There's a lot of hopes and dreams that come in here. People hoping to strike it rich with a big payday on fishing.
I have known Tony for 25 years. He is really a conductor of a huge orchestra of people working here. You come up here and then you realize what it takes to do what these guys do up here. It's very, very impressive. At first glance, Captain Tony Wood's boat, the Mad Max, looks like a typical fishing vessel in Bristol Bay during the salmon fishing season. But Tony is a rare breed of an adventurer. His story is as colorful as a Jack London novel, and the tales of his life in Alaska are perhaps even more interesting.
My entire life, I had always dreamt of going to Alaska. In 1989, my parents decided to go on a fishing trip to Alaska, and they asked me, hey, would you like to go? And I was there for about 3 days, and I told them to send my backpack and tent because I'm staying. And that was the start of my now 30-year journey in Alaska. I hitchhiked around Alaska, and I was offered a job at a fishing lodge, and I became a fishing guide and apprentice pilot for a fishing lodge in King Salmon, Alaska, which is where I still live today. In 1993, I started my own guide business in air taxi. A friend of mine who was a commercial fisherman asked me to get on his boat. I got on his boat and helped him out for about 2 weeks. And instead of taking money, I took fish. And I brought it back to the Midwest. People absolutely loved it. And at that point, I had been living in Alaska for about 12 years. I didn't realize that you couldn't get high quality wild salmon anywhere. It just didn't exist. And so a light bulb went off in my head, and I saw the next phase of my life beginning to materialize. 2003 was the start of Wild Alaska Salmon and Seafood. And what I did then was actually take fish that I was catching, process them, and directly sell. And no one else was doing that. Everybody else was fishing for a big corporation in Alaska, and that is what currently is the status in Alaska. These big corporations control salmon that's caught by the fleet of commercial fishermen in Alaska. And we broke out and began directly selling and shipping fish to consumers that really care about where their fish comes from and the quality that they're getting.
Heads up, here comes a flashback. I first came to Naknek in 2019 when the idea for a TV show called Food is Love was just an idea. I came here to see where the salmon I serve in my restaurant comes from. It's dangerous work, hard work. To see the process, I went out for the day with Tony's crew to catch some salmon.
It's an interesting perspective as a chef that you're actually seeing where the fish comes from. And in this case, it'll be from sea to chef or from ocean to chef.
Before we can start, we wait to hear the fishing announcements.
Hey, Corbin, when that announcement comes out in 9 minutes, will you alert me? If it says Kviak, I need to know that immediately, okay? We're fishing in Bristol Bay, which is part of the Bering Sea, out of the port of Naknek, Alaska, targeting sockeye salmon. And I do catch all 5 species of salmon, but however, sockeye is about 99% of what I catch out here.
Back on the shore, Tony's wife, Heather, works logistics for the operation, keeping the processing plant moving, and things running smoothly at Tonytown, a compound built by Tony to house his seasonal workers.
So right here is this arbitrary line that determines the Naknek section and the Kviak section. Tony likes to fish over here when they're both open, but that's part of the opening announcement that tells us whether it's the Naknek section only or both.
Right now, we'll pull the anchor and we'll just kind of hover here, and then we start fishing at 9:30. But I want to know if I'm going to break west or east and be ready to go. Okay, so we'll pull the anchor in. What we're doing right now is we're waiting. We're waiting for a 9 o'clock announcement, a 9 a.m. announcement to tell us where and when we can fish.
The Bristol Bay Salmon Run is a model success story of wildlife management. For more than a century, this has been the source of some of the best salmon in the world. The salmon fishing season is short and controlled by Fish and Game to ensure that a large enough quantity of fish are allowed to go upstream to spawn and reproduce.
The fishing periods are regulated by the Alaska Department of Fish and Game to make sure that the fishery is sustainable, remains sustainable.
For hundreds of years, this fishery has been producing and feeding people all over the world. We're in a cycle right now where there's more fish than ever before.
2018 was the largest run of Bristol Bay sockeye salmon in the history of fishery, so that goes back to about the 1880s.
It's still just like it was 100 years ago, and there's really no other fishery on the planet that you can say is the same.
So they fish around the tide. They plan and orchestrate those openers around the tide.
We do what's called active management, which is the tide-by-tide management.
This means that fishing times are determined daily, and until they're announced, it's anybody's guess.
We're sitting in a strategic position where we can make a maneuver right now and fish in either section, whether they open up the Kviak section or they open up the Naknek section.
At Tonytown headquarters, the team is waiting to relay the announcement to Tony back on the boat.
This is the Alaska Department of Fish and Game and King Salmon with an update for the Naknek Kviak District. The time is 9 a.m. and the date is Wednesday, July 17th.
Once that announcement happens, you'll see boats charging in all directions to try and get into position to where they can get in front of fish.
Work hours are pretty much 24/7, so they're fishing 2 tides a day. The tide changes every 12 hours, so they're fishing anywhere from 6 to 12 hours, and then maybe a 3 or 4 hour break in between, and then they're doing it again. So Tony maybe gets a couple hours of sleep in a 24-hour period, and that happens throughout the whole summer fishing season, potentially of 30 to 45 days like that. So it's grueling.
The Kviak River escapement was 25,000 for a cumulative count of 1.3 million.
The determining factor for the fishing times is the daily escapement, monitored by the Fish and Game.
Escapement is the number of fish that get past the commercial fishery, get upriver to their natal spawning streams and spawn. See, all the fishermen understand it, that escapement comes first. No one argues that that's most important because everyone here is in it for the long haul.
As previously announced, the Naknek section will open to drift gillnet gear for a 6.5 hour period today, Wednesday, July 17th.
Okay, you're confirming that Naknek and Kviak? We're out of the box here.
As soon as the announcement is made, the boat takes off in a mad scramble to get to the best spot. This isn't the place to be if you get seasick. Once the boat goes out to fish, it doesn't return for anything short of a medical emergency. The name of the game here is to get nets in the water and fish in the hull. The water is cold here. If you fall in, hypothermia starts in just a few minutes. And the nearest hospital is a 2-hour airlift to Anchorage. Accidents do happen out here. Removing the fish before they get to the reel is a priority. These guys are all pros and they make it look easy. Before long, the boat floor is slippery and the pace is picking up. Standing here in my purple jumpsuit isn't helpful, so in a borrowed rain suit, I jump in to give it a try. I feel a little like Lucille Ball working the line in a chocolate factory. There are fish scales and slime in every place, and in a few places I didn't think possible. This definitely takes practice, and judging by this crew's efficiency, they've all had plenty of it. You have to respect their work ethic. I've learned a lot today about where the salmon I serve comes from, but I've also learned a lot about the hard work that it takes to get it. When the product is as good as this, it makes my job in the kitchen easy.
There's no other fisherman that's doing what I'm doing. There's so many other companies that are out there that have a curtain behind them. There's some smoke and mirrors behind their operation. They're not the real thing. They're just buying and reselling seafood. The difference is in the transparency that we have. We are truly the only company in Southwest Alaska that catches, processes, and directly sells our fish.
What Tony does that's different is process his own catch, while everyone else sells their catch to a commercial buyer who process and package the fish, sometimes in another country. Tony transports his fish to his own processing plant in Naknek. This ensures that the product is processed the day it is caught and never changes hands, except between the fisherman and the consumer. That isn't just unique in Alaska, it's pretty unique anywhere.
So this is Naknek Beach. This is the beach that Tony delivers to. Tony, as you know, is the only fisherman that delivers to shore. So this is where all the action happens after the fishing period.
This boat here, the Mad Max, has refrigerated seawater, and it keeps the fish a little bit over freezing temperature, so when they come in, they're in good shape.
1, 1, 0, 3.
With this operation, we have good quality and keep the fish in the best condition all the time. We get the fish on the totes from the boats. We try to get it done as quick as possible so they can get back out to sea.
Once the fish are unloaded from the boat, they are immediately taken to be processed fresh.
We do everything with quality in mind. We're taking our own fish to our own plant and then directly selling it on our website and to our wholesale customers. It's just a chain reaction. As soon as there's fish, there's processing, and you don't stop until the fish is all processed.
Tony has engineered every step of this process to keep his fish in top condition. This, to me, is why I prefer to serve his fish in my restaurant.
So how do you take 20,000 pounds of fish and chill it down to 33? A lot of ice and some salt into insulated totes with ice, so it gets the fish cold really, really quickly. And our goal is to get the fish down to about 33 degrees before we cut them, because that's just better for the quality of the meat, the integrity of the meat.
So from the time they're caught till the time they're processed, our fish are treated as good as anybody can treat them.
We have a wide range of customers, so from someone that's ordering 5 pounds to someone that's coming to a farmer's market and buying their first piece of wild salmon ever, to grocery stores and restaurants too. It's all about quality for us. It's a little bit harder to do it that way, but it's worth the extra effort. Once the fish go through our processing line, they you typically either get shipped out fresh or get loaded into a freezer, one of the two. So depending on the ultimate destination of that fish, it's either getting frozen or getting on an airplane today.
Me, on the other hand, I feel like I should be in a wheelchair or in a gurney. And end flashback. That first time visiting Naknek left a pretty big impression on me. Everything here is hard work. All these years later, I'm not sure I even could hack it on the boat. But it's the off season, and it turns out there's plenty of fun to be had. The kind of fun they have in Naknek isn't for the faint of heart, especially if you have issues with height, since there are no connecting roads. Travel by bush planes is an everyday thing here. Captain Tony has taken me to the local airstrip to catch a ride in a plane and do some beach combing. And if we are lucky, maybe even see some walruses.
So this is actually the school plane right here. This is what they bring the kids to school. They fly about 3 miles across the river, and then they come back here and they land, and then the kids go to school, and then they get flown back every day. And this hot rod that we're taking here is a 1967 Cessna 180. And we've got Mason King is going to be driving us today, and we're going to go look for some walruses and beachcomb.
The idea here is to fly terrifyingly low over the shoreline looking for lost maritime treasures, like the blown glass balls that were used as a fishnet buoys back in the day. The flight alone is an experience for me, and if we are lucky, I'll come home with a souvenir to remember the trip by. The Alaskan landscape is unbelievably beautiful and wild. After almost 2 hours of flying, we haven't seen anything that looks like what we are looking for. Just as I've pretty much accepted defeat, Tony spots a group of walruses. Without hesitation, Mason turns the plane around and lands on the black sand beach. I don't like this. This is probably the furthest from civilization I've ever been, but I'm just happy to be alive with my feet on the ground again.
Where exactly are we?
Cape Cinnamon.
Okay.
Port Moller is down that way, and Falls Pass, where they bring the boats around the corner. The shortest route to Bristol Bay
Okay.
is down there, and we're about 180 miles south of Natnik.
So it's not like you're gonna run into a lot of tourists down here.
No.
It's just us.
No, just us.
Okay, so we're on our own.
Yep.
We're on our own. Okay. Well,
Yep.
Yeah, and how many people a year would you say make it here? A dozen?
Yeah, not too many.
And there's 8 billion people on the planet, and we're the only ones here.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Great.
If I die, you have permission to eat me.
I'm not sure if that's a joke or not. As we prepare to walk the shoreline, I can't help but notice that Tony has a chainsaw.
Now, Tony, what's the chainsaw for?
Well, in the event that we find a dead walrus, we are going to grab his head.
That's not what I was expecting to hear.
Because it has ivory on it.
It's not a secret soup recipe you have, is it?
It is not a recipe, but I have eaten walrus before, but it's reminded me of a Nike shoe.
Removing the head of a dead walrus wasn't on my beach combing bingo card for today. I thought we were just coming to look at them, but in Alaska, it's legal to harvest the ivory from a dead walrus as long as you register it with the Department of Fish and Game. This practice helps keep ivory off the black market where it can be worth a fortune.
Out here, there's a bunch of clams in the mud, and so the walruses go out there, and their tongue is like a piston. And they'll root around with their tusks, and then they'll grab the mouthful of mud and clams and sieve it out, and then they'll pulverize the clams with their tongue. And they are heavy. They'll weigh up to about 5,000 pounds on a big walrus. And right over here is a walrus haul out. And what we think we see is a dead one here, that we're going to get lucky and score a walrus head here today.
As we approach the cliffs where the walruses congregate, Tony's sighting is confirmed. Finding a walrus before the bears do is considered lucky.
Yeah, that one's dead, man.
And we got lucky.
Holy shit, did we get lucky.
And today we can call ourselves in luck because we found 2 in the same place. This is pretty rare.
What we did is we came down to look at these live ones, but in the process we happened to locate 2 dead ones, and so we're going to use a chainsaw and an axe and remove the skull on this one here, and also go for the usik, which is the penis bone of a walrus, which the walruses for their size have the largest penis of any mammal, and these are marine mammals. And so what will happen now is after we take the heads, we'll have to clean them up and then get them registered with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife because they're a protected animal. Lazar, what do you think you could cook up with one of these?
What the hell did I get myself into?
Just as I was getting used to the idea of cutting off the head, In true Captain Tony form, he surprised me with the news about the penis. Apparently, the usik, as it's called, is considered a trophy here. This one over here, actually, we believe that it got killed from a rock or part of the wall here that fell down and killed it. You can tell all the stone that fell on it. It was just resting here, and poor thing got hit by a rock in the head, and here we are taking its penis and its head. But that's life. With trash bags as homemade PPE, the stage is set for another quick viewer disclaimer. The following contains scenes that are graphic but real. In rural Alaska, nothing is wasted, people are resourceful, and life can be brutal. And for the other walruses, they seem completely undisturbed by the spectacle unfolding before them. Too busy digging clams and resting in the sun to notice. It's a surreal moment to be sure, something that will only happen once in my life, I hope. And I don't know if you know, but this is also the way they remove your wisdom teeth up here in Naknek. You know, there's a shortage of dentists that want to live here. This isn't the time to indulge my weak constitution or fear of bodily fluids. I'll just have to hold my breath to get it done. I'll spare you the details of extraction, but I did it. I must at least be an honorary Alaskan now, right? With our treasures wrapped up, it's a 2-mile walk back to the plane, and the head is heavy. It's long enough to reflect on what just happened and to feel thankful to share this experience with my friends. After a day like today, the plane ride back into Naknek feels like coming home. Our beachcombing expedition may have been a success, but the work is far from over. In order to get the ivory tagged and legal, we have to clean it up. So what are we doing with this thing now, Tony?
We have to boil the crap out of it to get all of the meat and sinew and tendons and everything off of it. Not a quick process. We have to make this walrus soup for probably about 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
And then it'll get nice and clean.
As it turns out, removing the head may not have been the worst part of this. My joke about walrus head soup has come back to haunt me. The smell of an old boiled walrus head is something that's hard to explain, like a soup stock from hell. The smell is attracting the wildlife. You know, I've never seen a fox in my life. Right to the back steps of Tonytown. It's charming right now, but hopefully these guys are the only ones that show up. This is Alaska for you. You're right up there against nature. After 24 hours of boiling, the tusks are ready to register with the authorities to make them legal.
What you have to do with marine mammal ivory is you have to get it sealed by the U.S. government, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And so that's what we're doing here now. And they'll put tag in, and this is forever registered under your name because you can't sell ivory. Ivory is, a commodity. It puts a price on an animal's head. Yeah. And so that's why what we're doing now is make these legal.
Now that my ivory tucks are registered, I have completed my transformation into an Alaskan, and I'm pretty sure the best way to celebrate is to eat like one. Salmon is the staple of the diet here in Naknek. For people native to this hemisphere, it's a lifeblood. Over the centuries, the Inuit have developed their own methods for preserving salmon to make it last through the year. One of my favorite ways are these smoked strips. This is Carol, a native of Naknek with Inuit ancestry. Smoking and preserving salmon has been part of her life since she was 3 years old.
I learned this from my mom. From my grandmom. Mom had a smokehouse in Levelock that my dad put there for her next to her mother's smokehouse. And on the other side of my mom was her mom's best friend who also put up fish, and we learned from them. I was 2 years old when that happened. I got in trouble for eating raw fish ends off the rack.
Tony was adamant about that this was the best, so obviously Tony likes this recipe better.
We have been told by many people over many years that we are the best in the Bay.
This stuff is the best. This stuff is crack. It's that good. You can't, once you start and you eat it, you can't stop.
And ours is particularly primo. I'm not ashamed to say.
I'm looking at these strips here, and they are absolutely, you see how uniform they are? in every way. And that takes so much time and love. Well, before refrigeration, this was how you had to put up your food for the winter.
Do you have to tie every single one of these up?
Every single one. Sometimes it's 1,000 pairs.
Wow. I mean...
a day.
I remember doing...
And that's where the love comes in, right?
This is the red salmon capital of the world.
Everyone around here has their own recipe, their own techniques, their own
wood
styles, use different wood, make different brine consistencies. So no one's salmon is exactly the same.
It used to be called squaw candy, but that has become the not correct term for it because it's kind of a degrading name. And so now different people call it smoked strips, but this has never been cooked. This is just dried, air dried, 2 days of smoke.
This is called the glazing. You can see that there's a little dry crust on there, and we hang it for 1 day outside and then smoke it for 2 days, and you end up with this nice glazed surface, which makes it come out when you dump your jar as a stick. We do these kippered strips, but we don't do hard, complete strips anymore because it's very time consuming, a lot of work. And our strip tyer, my mom, who could tie about 1,000 pairs of strips a day, is gone from us now. And so we gave up after a couple of years without her.
So Tony, I think a lot of people don't really know the difference between farm-raised salmon and wild salmon. Why would you prefer to eat wild salmon over farm-raised salmon?
I think what you eat.
Yeah.
And farm-raised salmon, what do they feed farm-raised salmon? Antibiotics. Yeah.
They feed them old fish and old chicken and old beef scraps. They make it into these pellets, and they're feeding them meat instead of shrimp. They eat krill in the wild, and plankton, but mostly krill. This is called a solid pack. You don't leave any air if you can help it. What little air is in the bottom will become oil.
What we're doing here is love. This food is made with love. It is.
Our recipe is salmon, salt, and love. That's all it is.
Wow.
There's no sugar, no other kind of flavors or spices. The fish is the flavor.
A lot of people here smoke their own salmon. It's what they eat and a way to supplement their income, each with their own particular brine recipe and method. This to me is a beautiful thing. A smokehouse filled with fish and the smell of salmon oil perfuming the air. This is like a Dane's wet dream.
Okay, I mean, these are coming out.
This is what handmade, looks like, right? It's not a machine.
Now
it's
everyone is the individual fish's expression of itself.
Yeah.
They all have a personality.
And the love from you.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of love involved. First, you have to love what you're doing, or you just can't enjoy doing it. And if you can't enjoy it, you're not going to do it well.
Carol and her daughter are carrying on the family tradition of smoking salmon. I'll probably never eat another piece of this stuff without thinking about what I saw here today. You still find enjoyment in it, don't you?
Oh my gosh.
I can tell you're very passionate about it.
I am. Passionate is a really good word. It is my passion and my pleasure.
Down the road, Tony has taken me to see the port of Naknek.
So this is our port. It is number 3 in value of seafood that gets exported. Look at these containers here. These are all full of fish. All the ones that say Alaska Marine Lines are domestic. They're going to stay in the United States. And all of the other ones are going to go overseas to Asia or to Europe. This is Food Inc., man. This is working. This is what feeds the world. A big part of rural Alaska is hunting. Hunting is a way of life out here. We'll get to have a subsistence dinner with Pete and Annette.
I love it. Most of the people who help Tony during the fishing season leaves when the fishing is over. But there are some who live here in Naknek year-round. One of those people is Pete, who I met the first time I came.
25 years, Tony and I have known each other. And Tony get off the boat to go split his own fish and right back on the boat again. And things evolved from there, getting more people, setting the plan up. And now he's selling salmon all over the country and out of the country, actually.
Pete and his wife Annette, who is native, have invited us to have a dinner of wild game that is typical for those who hunt for subsistence here. It's not hard to tell from their home that aside from helping Tony, Pete is a hunter and a trapper, and as a native Alaskan, his wife Annette uses the animal furs to make clothing.
I've trapped for 35 years here.
Okay.
And it was my passion, and then Annette would come out on the line with me, and then when they come back, Annette would sew hats, mittens, all types of stuff for women, men, children.
All exotic, and from wolverine to wolf to otter, seal.
So how did you learn to do all these things?
My mom and my gram,
Right.
everybody
Right,
made,
you had to make your own clothes.
right. And I just was doing mittens and fur hats. So I just started just creating other things.
That looked really good on you, Tony.
It would.
I think it
I
matches.
think
it makes your eyes pop. Hearing about Annette's family is fascinating to me.
They used an ulo,
What is that?
the knife.
Days like today make me realize how much there is to learn about other cultures. Like this, an indigenous knife is called an uluk.
This is the one that my dad made me.
So that's your chef knife.
Our frozen moose,
Yeah.
when it's not all the way thawed. This is so much easier to cut that
Yeah.
semi-frozen meat with.
Yeah.
You could push versus using a knife.
Why this isn't used everywhere, I don't understand. It's an absolutely genius design. I've got to get one of these.
So my brother made me this one. So when you're cutting like your dry meat, that's
So
the chef's knife. We have the Eskimo ice cream, the agudak for dessert,
Which is Crisco,
and sugar.
sugar, and berries.
I think Tony told me that there's certain tribes to the north.
So we're Aleut here,
Okay.
and just north of us we have different Yupiks, and as you go up from the Yupiks, there's the Inupiaks.
We start things off with a garden salad that you should consider a luxury in this part of the world.
The red, the sockeye.
Yeah.
These are the collars of the smoked salmon, and these are smoked with birch.
Next, we have baked halibut heads. I've had fish heads before, but never halibut. Wow.
That halibut I've never had the halibut head before.
No, it's delicious. And the main attraction, a generous sampling of wild game.
Then we have beaver, porcupine, some moose, and some caribou. All right, I'm just going to use my fingers if everybody's okay
Knock
with that.
yourself out.
A menagerie of firsts for me. Porcupine, beaver, and fish collars.
Don't get a quill in your teeth.
A what?
Quill.
What's that?
Porcupine.
The porcupine.
Oh.
The spike.
To those unfamiliar with life here, eating things like porcupine and beaver sounds extreme. But Alaska is extreme, and survival here requires a different way of thinking. Field to table is the rule around here.
We eat beluga whale, but I didn't grow up on the other whales.
Native Alaskans like Annette are allowed to hunt animals like seals and whales as a food source. Pete shows us a real harpoon, gift to them from a friend who hunts.
Ask her what part of the beluga she likes.
The flipper.
The flipper?
Flipper's the best.
Really? This is called
Agudak.
Eskimo ice cream is the old term. Is it still politically correct enough for us?
Eskimo ice cream,
Okay.
which is agudak.
But it's cloudberries.
It is.
So this is before refrigeration. This is what dessert would be. Eskimo ice cream.
We have these same berries in Denmark, only we call them cloudberries.
So you got the little crunch, and those ones aren't quite as ripe yet.
That's just such an amazing lifestyle difference.
I know. I mean, it's fascinating that there is still people that actually live
this way.
This way, yeah. Alaska truly is the last frontier, right?
Right, it is.
The dinner was amazing, and there may be no better way to close out this evening than having a steam bath.
This is a traditional way for people to clean themselves.
With plumbing scarce and fuel precious, this is the way of showering for a lot of people here. But as I quickly figure out, you can't be shy if you're taking a steam shower with Captain Tony.
People don't realize that there's still a big part of the world that has no running water. You know, you don't have running water. A steam bath is the cleanest thing you can do.
Rural Alaska is something else. I mean, you got to do a lot of things to get clean.
This is what you said. You got hot time, go down tonight.
Captain Tony knows how to treat an old cook like me. We had a couple of cocktails, we took a steam bath, and now we're going to go back and have another couple of cocktails and something to eat. I'm telling you, life in rural Alaska, I love it.
We're going to go home and have some yard bird.
Long before fishing boats filled the bay here, the landscape was dominated by mastodons during the last ice age. A common pastime in the off-season is to follow the shoreline in search of their bones. Yes, more beach combing. To reassure me that this time there is no surprises, Tony has taken me to meet a couple of friends to see what we're looking for.
These bones are probably between 10 and 40,000 years old. And this is the molar from a mastodon, and this is the rib bone.
Back 10,000 years ago or more, this thing was grazing up here in Alaska when I'm sure the climate was vastly different.
This is a mastodon tusk now that Isaac found on the beach combing here. And this is the holy grail of what everybody who's beach combing wants to look for and find.
This kind of beach combing is easier to stomach, and it's a little exciting too. Four-wheelers help us cover more ground. Sporadically, Tony stops to scale the eroding beach to investigate.
You just never know.
This goes on for hours.
All of my years of hunting mastodon fossils, I am a zero, but many of my friends who are much more avid have made scores.
And though we didn't find any dinosaur bones, seeing the old cannery building helps paint a clearer picture of how the fishing industry has evolved over the last 100 years.
This piece of property here is owned by Peter Pan Seafoods. Peter Pan Seafoods was a household name here in remote Alaska and one of the biggest buyers of seafood and supporters of the community. And as of 2023, they filed for bankruptcy. Literally, the cost of energy is what took this building and took this company down. So all of this infrastructure behind you was built probably 80 years ago.
The interesting things about this cannery is, it's about 100 years old, and it's a testament of how people would have to come out here to work. Old equipment that's no longer in use anymore, it somehow ended down here. It's incredible to think all of this is here because of salmon. To get a better idea of Naknek's history, we are visiting the Bristol Bay Historical Society. At first, a museum in Naknek seems out of place. How could such a remote village with such a small population have a museum? And walk through the inside, and I start to realize all that has unfolded here. As it turns out, since the very beginning of the fishing industry here, immigrants have played a key role.
It was an immigrant fleet, predominantly an immigrant fishing fleet. So
Italians mostly?
Italians, Scandinavians, folks from Sweden, a lot of folks from that Mediterranean sort of region, folks that already had fishing and sailing experience.
First, the indigenous people. The switch from sails to motorized boats, the changes in workplace laws, Naknek has seen it all, and all while feeding the world its salmon. Besides salmon, Alaska has another wild resident that gets a lot of attention. Did you see the plane down there? We're gonna cram into that plane and take off and see some bears. Of course, the Alaska experience wouldn't be complete without risking my life to be in the presence of grizzly bears.
I'm, Crocodile Dundee.
Not in a grizzly man sort of way, I mean at a distance. To do it, I have to take a herring ride on a small float plane to hike the Brooks Falls. As luck would have it, the pilot has to drop me off 2 miles away from the ranger station. That means a frightening walk through bear-infested territory.
These bears are going to get real close to you because they're conditioned. They're coming down the path, they want you to just back up into the woods, let the bear pass. The bear doesn't want anything to do with you. Wants to fish in the water. People have gotten knocked over by the bear because the bear's running to go do something. They just happen to be in the way. Whatever you do, don't turn your back on it. Don't run, because then you're going to turn into prey. They're going to think it's a game. You're not going to win.
The pep talk didn't do much for my confidence. But once you start watching them, fear turns to appreciation. Seeing them fish and play in the water, you realize they're just hungry for salmon. Basically, the same thing that brought the rest of us here. As a fishing guide and bush pilot, Tony is no stranger to the wildlife, and now neither am I. Brook Falls is known the world over as one of the best places to observe grizzly bears in the wild. Being the main source of protein in the grizzly's diet here just shows how important the salmon is to everyone. This is my last morning at Tonytown before heading back to the lower 48. It's only fitting that I spend it in the kitchen. So it's the end of the fishing season here in Alaska. The chef has left and there's still a few stragglers, like 9 or 10 people left in the camp in Tonytown. And you know what happens when people find out you're a chef. Once a chef, always a chef. And apparently, grocery prices have not improved since I was here last. I'm standing here and I'm looking at these oranges. The chef and I had a conversation before he left. He went and bought 2 grapefruits and 3 apples. It was $49. You know, you really don't have access up here to nutritional food because of the price. I have to be creative. Once in a while, you know, gotta try to put some nutritional stuff in there. So I found these oranges. This might be the most expensive breakfast they've seen up here this fishing season. Everybody's getting an orange. I'm just making breakfast today. This isn't the first time I've cooked in the kitchen here in Tonytown. Heads up, here comes another flashback. The first time in 2019, it was the height of the fishing season, and with a full crew of hungry mouths to feed, it was a much taller order to fill on the fly. After 14 hours of pushing a chef's body to its physical limits on a fishing vessel, I woke up to learn that the camp cook had been fired in the night. This, of course, leaves me no choice but to be of good service and take over duties in the galley. This turned into Hell's Kitchen, Alaska. They fired the chef, and all of a sudden, everybody looked at me. I say, okay, where's the produce? No produce. Okay, where's the meat? In the freezer. Everything they have is canned food, so that in itself is a major challenge. You have to be creative with what you have. Breakfast today will be biscuits with country gravy and quiche.
Country gravy. And it's gonna be delicious.
Not exactly my best work, but it'll do. Thankfully, I have a little more time to prepare dinner than I had for breakfast. You might have seen me cook the campfire salmon before at the restaurant, but tonight I'm actually gonna cook right here on the beach on a campfire. It's gonna be epic. This is my opportunity to put together something special for Captain Tony and his crew for when they return to shore tonight. But I'm going to need a few things they don't have here in the pantry. Heather has taken me to the only grocery store for hundreds of miles. Everything that comes to Naknek has to be flown or shipped in, which dramatically affects price and freshness of perishable goods. The pickings are slim, to put it nicely.
Well, it will be fun to check out and see what our total is today. So everything, because we're not connected to the road system, has to either come up by plane or by barge. So you've got freight, a whole lot of additional freight included in any item you buy here that you wouldn't normally get in the lower 48. It's the bigger items like a package of paper towels. 12-pack of paper towels here is $37, I just saw on the other aisle there. You know, the produce obviously has to be flown up, so you're paying huge amounts. I saw the price for asparagus, I think, was $8.50 a pound. So just the cost, because of the logistics, to get things here and have things here, again, you don't want to do all your shopping here. So you want to plan ahead early in the season to go to Seattle and have all of that shipped by barge. And then we have a courier, a friend that has an expediter service in Anchorage, that we will send her a list every couple weeks for kind of the real basics of onions, celery, cabbage, dairy products, things like that that you have to restock and can't freeze. We'll have her send those up every couple weeks, and that's still cheaper than shopping here for those items all the time.
The pricing here is outrageous. A head of celery was like $10. Heavy whipping cream was $12 for a quart. It's very expensive, so you can see why they use a lot of canned goods up here. So it's everybody can cook good stuff if you have great ingredients. It's going to take skill to make something good out of what we got to work with today. It's a challenge, but I'm ready.
With the Tony Town kitchen to myself, I set out to make a meal that will warm up the cold, tired crew. My deer is a salmon-based soup that will be like a hug in a bowl.
So I had to improvise because a lot of things up here was not available to me. Like I make a fish stock at the restaurant, so I couldn't get any fish stock, so I got clam juice in little bottles. So I put that in here. We're using Tony salmon. I went down on the dock where they process the fish, and I got the fish. So I mean, it's a couple of hours old, right out of the Bering Sea. It doesn't get any better than this. I'm gonna cut it out in little cubes. I made this red curry, and so it's gonna be a chowder, salmon soup, stew, whatever you wanna call it, but I call it a knack red curry salmon chowder. We're cooking for about 30 people. I'm not good at making small portions anyway, so this is gonna work out great. So that's why my mise en place looks like that. I got potatoes over here, carrots, celery, mushrooms, peppers, and I have onions and garlic and red curry in here. Pineapple juice, some coconut milk. I got these most expensive creams I've ever seen in my entire life are right here. So that's gonna round out some of that flavor from the curry. So here's a first for me for a chef. I've never pulled the pin bones with a Leatherman tool. This is so Alaska, I love it.
Turns out all you need to cook in Alaska is an Ulok and a Leatherman. Do they make a food-grade Leatherman? Because they should.
We're making the base for the soup right now, and then we're gonna add the potatoes when we know there is about half an hour before we're gonna serve it. And then we're going to add the salmon like 10 minutes before we're actually going to serve it.
The soup base is finally ready to go, so it's time to meet the boats on the beach and prep for service. Here, that means a makeshift propane burner and a stock pot on the sand. Right on time, Tony shows up with the freshest wild-caught salmon you could ask for.
That's exactly what I wanted.
I caught one.
Okay.
We thinly slice pieces of fillet and toss them in soy sauce and lime juice. A little celebration of Tony's catch and a nod to the quality of the fish here. It looks simple, but this is a delicacy of the highest mark. And having it where it was caught is a privilege more exclusive than the best restaurants in the world. Not many have dined this well here.
If you like sushi,
sashimi. Once I get the base warmed, I add the potatoes and salmon.
we invited a bunch of Tony's friends, fishermen, people that work with Tony, and what I did was I added some shrimp in here with the salmon, and it's cooking. You know, when it's cold and chilly like it is up here in the middle of the summer, it's such a heartwarming feeling that it's spicy and hot at the same time. It gives you a sense of well-being when you eat like this. Some of that seaweed and fresh cilantro and green onions to give it a little crispness too. That's just great.
Watching everyone smile while they eat is rewarding. Even here in the middle of nowhere, food brings people closer together, and it doesn't have to come from a 5-star kitchen to do its job. Everything worked out well. The soup was a hit, and everyone is enjoying themselves. These beach cabins belongs to people who have set nets that are accessible from the shore at low tide. I'm invited in to see the kitchen of this one, which is mostly made and furnished with found objects.
All this chain, I drug out of the freaking ocean. All this web, we just picked off the beach and people threw things away. The windows, the doors, even the beds were beside the road.
You cook for somebody and they allow you to get in and see the most intimate part of how they live. This is why food is love.
Alaska is a blessing. It is the last frontier, it really is.
The sun barely sets here this time of year, so you wouldn't know from looking that it's almost 10 p.m. It's not easy to survive here, but in moments like this, you forget that. Everyone here comes from different places in the world. Many of them, just like the salmon, find their way back to Naknek year after year, just to work with Captain Tony. I've met a lot of good people in Naknek. Nobody here realizes it, but to get to feed them, the people that help me serve the best to my customers, this is an honor for me. It's a way of showing my appreciation for not having to risk my life to get the best salmon in the world. Tony is out there doing it for me, and he ships it directly to my door in Alton.
You ask any 8th grader where food comes from, and they're going to tell you the supermarket. It doesn't. It comes from ranchers, fishermen, and farmers.
His commitment to offering the best fish possible costs him more than the average fisherman. But Tony is a proud captain, and that pride comes through in every piece of fish he sells.
This fish coming right out of the water fresh is some of the best food that you can get on the planet. To preserve that and get it to a consumer, that's our goal.
I came all the way to Naknek to find out where the fish I serve comes from, but along the way I figured out that it might be more important to know who it comes from.
This is the real deal. Now you know the guy that caught your dinner.
Food is love. Jason, if we make it back, when is our PBS series going to be done? I'm counting on you.
How do you become the top online seafood company in the United States? You earn it. We are the only company that catches, processes, and directly sells seafood right to our customers. We have a 4.9 Google rating with over 800 reviews and the highest customer satisfaction. To have the best seafood delivered right to your door, order from the original, WildAlaskaSalmonandSeafood.com. Look for my face on the logo to ensure you're getting the best. Now you know the guy that caught your dinner.